What we are talking about today is, I think, going to be one of the most important issues that I cover. But Devin, you say, you always say that. You always say there are more important issues to cover, and that this is going to be your most important issue. This is really, for sure, actually going to be one of the most important issues we cover, okay? Here is what I've done for everybody, okay? I am going to give a definitive, final explanation on the trust and safety team, the enforcement issues on Twitch, how it actually works behind the scenes, and I have a lot of information and support through this. It took me hours to research this, hours, and I've talked to several first-hand accounts of AMs and people on the trust and safety team to understand this process, okay? So it is going to be a really big talk with a lot of big talking points, and we are going to try to really get to the bottom and provide a one-stop resource on like what is about with Twitch bans. So let's first describe the problem, I think, is what's happening here. There is a perception on this platform that started about 6 to 8 months ago, maybe a year ago, that many streamers are banned for unreasonably, that Twitch staff is uncommunicative. Is that a word? That, okay, I got to turn that off. But thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Okay, so take two. There has been a perception on Twitch that many streamers are banned unreasonably. The Twitch staff is uncommunicative and doesn't respond. And there is an outrage culture that happens almost every day with thousands of upvotes, posts on Reddit, comments, streamers, podcasts talking about this. And the general consensus is that high-profile bans that happen sometimes shouldn't happen, that a lot of people are getting banned all the time on Twitch, that Twitch is inconsistent in its enforcement, and to some extent that Twitch is an evil Illuminati empire hell-bent on the destruction of all that is good. AKA Reddit take. Okay. So my goal today, my outcome today, is to set out the final definitive word on how this system actually works, supported by mountains of evidence as best as I can do. And let me state that I think there are a couple problems with what's going on here. We're gonna try to like delve down into like the truth of this versus like some of the false things and some of the things that are right, some of the things that are wrong. Okay. And the reason this is important is because there are hundreds of thousands of people at this point who are trying to make a career off of Twitch and try to get paid. And there are also many more millions of people who come to this platform every single day, and they are trying to view content or trying to be entertained or informed or just have a good time or whatever. And this narrative of Twitch is really important. We understand Twitch and what it actually is. And simultaneously that we understand that the real issues that are actually on the platform, of which there are several, right? And that we communicate those issues. And this is like, I'm leading with this. It's like the most important thing. We communicate those issues in a productive way. So we talk to Twitch and we talk about Twitch in a way that is productive and constructive to to solutions to problems that we actually want. So what I mean by that is like, we don't just go on and post nonsense and say, Twitch sucks, this sucks, everything sucks. We actually try to really delve into these issues together, and we try to find the answers to these problems, and we try to find the solutions, and we suggest them, and we keep that communication open with Twitch, okay? Let's talk about, first of all, some just outright misrepresentation. So one of the things that I set out to do when I wanted to start this talk was I wanted to understand exactly how the trust and safety team is actually built, okay? So the trust and safety team of Twitch is a group of people who are responsible for determining who, first of all, the policy on Twitch and what the global overarching policy is. And secondly, what the enforcement of that policy should be. Okay? So on the team, at the highest level, are the actual policymakers. So people who set the policy. Okay? Which is basically what should we allow or disallow on Twitch. And this, to some extent, goes all the way up to Emmett Shear, right? But there are dedicated executives in the company at the highest level who set the policy of what should we allow and disallow on Twitch. Then quite separately below that, there are people who set the enforcement criteria, okay? So separate people who say, under what grounds do we actually enforce these rules? What do we enforce? How do we enforce them? Then, on the third level, there's people who evaluate enforcement decisions. These are the banners, okay? The ban people. People who ban people. These are separate from AMs, account managers, and staff in chat, who are innocent bystanders, who you guys throw fruit at, that actually are probably just software engineers and have no idea what you are talking about. Okay? So these two people are completely innocent in this equation. No one that you see with a badge in chat is going to be a person that makes enforcement decisions. It is incredibly rare that those people appear because they will be targeted publicly by the very problem that we are trying to address today. And I am going to, Devin is going to have to pull out every stop to describe this, including and not limited to MS Paint. We have to use 2 notepads and MS Paint. That's how serious this is. I'm going hard, okay? Couple of things. So this is how the trust and safety team is structured, okay? At the highest level, people who set policy. Different set of people set enforcement criteria. Different set of people make enforcement decisions. These are not the same people at these 3 tiers. They're different people. Twitch is a company of about 2,000 people right now as of the making of this talk, and that is a lot of people. And there are many people on trust and safety. And to be very clear, every single person who sets enforcement criteria and evaluates it, every single person is a paid member of the staff. So they sit in an office working for Twitch, and they're paid. It used to be, a long time ago, that Twitch would hire volunteers to make enforcement or ban decisions on people. That doesn't exist anymore. If a person is making an enforcement decision on a streamer, especially a high-profile streamer, that person is paid by Twitch to do so, and is usually sitting in an office and is held accountable to an entire trust and safety team. So let's just get that off the table right now. There are no volunteers that make ban decisions on Twitch, period. That doesn't exist, okay? There's nobody that gets that is unpaid that happens to. Just doesn't happen. Okay. So this is how the trust and safety team is worked out. Okay. When an issue comes into the trust and safety funnel, so let's say that there's like a circle here, and an issue gets put in. Okay, it gets doled out to people that make enforcement decisions here. This might be sexually suggestive content team. This might be threats of violence. This might be racism issues, etc. This might be I don't know. Like, what else is against the rules? Threats against other streamers. Or let's say, like, serious, immediate issues, like live events being streamed that are real bad, etc. When an issue hits the funnel, okay, Twitch uses a system of, an algorithmic system to try to push that issue to a certain team. So one thing that you'll see a lot is people will say that the same people on trust and safety are handling issues for the same streamer. So, for example, like some people are so unsophisticated that they'll say that account managers are handling it. But we'll explain the relationship with them in just a minute, and the relationship with these people. Okay, so this is like the violation. Okay, goes into this funnel. Twitch will use intelligent systems to try to point the violation to the proper team. And they'll do this through a variety of ways. If you've ever clicked the report feature on a stream, you'll see there are different reasons in the drop-down menu for why to report someone. Twitch will take those reasons into account. They'll also take the number of accounts into it and the severity and a couple of things about that account as well, and how many reports that account has made, and like a bunch of other stuff too. And the point is they will filter these into different categories. So a streamer that's been in trouble with sexually suggestive content before will not actually be in the same category for threats of violence, etc. And most likely they will never come across the same person on the trust and safety team that's evaluating the decision. So this rumor that there is of a Twitch of the trust and safety team making evaluations on streamers and it having been the same people over and over again doing it, it doesn't exist for the most part. Additionally, to understand this at a high level, we need to understand how the trust and safety team interacts with Twitch partners. So over here, this is your average Twitch partner. Okay, he's got legs. He doesn't use them because he sits at his computer all day. And he's got, see, you got a brush. Okay. And he's very unhappy because he is having to deal with Twitch violations. Okay. He's super unhappy. All right. So the trust and safety team, these guys is the trust and safety team. Have told him that he can't stream on Twitch. So he tries to send his content over here, but it gets blocked. You forgot. Oh, right. Hang on. We got to do the blue hair because you're on Twitch and you got to be unique, bro. And it's 2019. Okay. So he's very unhappy. All right. And he can't get his issue through the trust and safety team. There's a big wall that stops him from doing it. All right. Now, the trust and safety team, their only job is to do enforcement-related stuff. He also has red hair because he's like a duality dude. He's got two extreme sides, and he's not afraid to show both of them. That's the 2009 Twitch streamer. All right, I'm sorry, I'm done. Let me get back to the real topic. Okay, so he can't stream, and he's very sad. Somebody has told him on the trust and safety team that he has violated something, okay? So somebody in one of these groups has made an enforcement decision. So let's say that our blue-haired, red-haired dude gets a wild streak and decides that he wants to show his dick. Now, I'm not going to draw that because I myself am on Twitch, and I don't want to go through the same process that I'm describing right now. But let's say that he decides to show his dick, and this is the sexually suggestive content team. All right? Well, a lot of people don't like that, and they decide to go to his report function, and they report him for showing his dick. The report goes through, shows up here, and the sexually suggestive content team makes a series of evaluations. Did he show his dick? To what extent did his dick show? What was the intent of showing his dick? Was it that he really wanted to just do it? Or was it that he was like accidentally coming out of the shower? And all these things are taken into account. The decision making is a lot of like different like things, like the intent of the broadcaster. These things are like taken into account, and then a decision is made. Okay, and the decision you never actually hear about from the trust and safety team. The decision actually instead goes to what they call an account manager. An account manager, where is my black circle? This is going to be purple. The account manager, bigger. What? Okay. The account manager, their exclusive job, okay, is to represent and fight for streamer justice. We support streamers. And we fight against the trust and safety team. So what the account manager is going to do, especially for a high-profile broadcaster. Now, to be clear, not every broadcaster has an account manager, right? That would be impossible. There are over 30,000 partners. There are 250 or so account managers. Actually, more now. Probably closer to 400. But regardless, if you just do some really simple math on that, right, let's assume that there's 30,000 partners, of which there's way more, and there's 500 account managers, right? Well, that's 60 partners, and that these are just using incredibly best numbers possible. It's actually way worse than this, but that's 60 people that an account manager would have to manage in order to take care of them. But in theory, account managers are supposed to support streamers, and they do this for high-profile streamers. Every streamer has an account manager. Nerd Fusion has an account manager. I live in like a weird like Shadow Realm Dormammu thing, so I don't technically have an account manager, but that's because I'm also a talent agent, so there's some weird stuff there. But like normally a broadcaster in the top 1% would have a talent manager, or sorry, an account manager. Your account manager's job is to fight for you. Your account manager is going to try to back you up against the trust and safety team. And they're going to try to explain, especially if your intent was good, that you shouldn't be banned for as long, or you should be taken care of, or whatever. So your account manager is going to actually fight the trust and safety team on these issues. And they're going to fight with any ammo that you give them. Okay, so your communication is not going to be with the trust and safety team. It's going to be with the account manager. And the account manager is going to talk to you, try to figure out what you did, and then they're going to go back to the trust and safety team, and they're going to fight your case. So a good way to think about this is or a good analog is the justice system, right? So the judge and jury, right? You've got a judge and jury, so people that determine like what is going to happen to you. The judge is going to say this is your sentence, right? That's trust and safety. The DA is like trust and safety, right? The person that's actually going to try to determine what you did wrong and what's going to happen. Your attorney is the AM. So the person the attorney can't always win your case for you, right? Like your attorney is not always going to be able to make a difference or to win, but they're going to try. And they're especially not going to do it if you're clearly guilty and you have no defense, right? So the account manager is going to use what you give them to be able to talk about this, okay? And so now I think we've gotten to the point where we have actually described how this team works. So a violation appears, it goes into a funnel. The funnel is informed by machine learning. The machine learning points them towards a specific section. That group of the trust and safety team picks up the issue. It considers intent, considers what is happening, considers the policy, right, that's made by the higher level people up here, right? The lords on high, right? The high table, which decides what the policy at Twitch should be. The people that do the enforcement criteria, and then makes an informed decision, hopefully, about what is going to happen as a result of that. There are times, especially with high-profile bans, that people that set the enforcement criteria will come in to moderate and evaluate a decision that is made on an enforcement level. So, and there are also times where at the highest level, people that set policy will come in for like top 1% streamers and stuff like that. So you can bet that like a very high profile ban, like Dr. Disrespect walking into a bathroom, is considered by many, many people at Twitch. We need to dispense right away of this idea that there is one person at Twitch who is like guilty, and then like it's just over, right? Or like some of these memers on like Twitter will like roll some dice and just decide on a ban. Like that is not happening. For really high profile bans, there are huge groups of people that are consulted for this, and there are meeting rooms of people that make decisions on these kind of things. And that brings us to a very commonly discussed issue with Twitch. Let's talk about the response time. Let's talk about how long this actually takes, okay? So people will say, so sometimes you'll see it take 3 days for a ban to happen, or let's say that something happened 3 weeks ago and then somebody is suddenly banned for it. Why does this happen? Well, the first reason is that if something happens but it's not reported, it doesn't get flagged. So if all y'all here are on the inside of a joke with me, okay, if I start saying a really bad word right now and I don't stop saying it and you're all cool, we don't get in trouble. If nobody reports it and there's no staff there and there's nobody see the tree fall, it doesn't happen. So oftentimes what is happening with these people are blaming Twitch because they're saying, oh, Twitch is banning for content that happened a year ago. Actually, what's happening is that some ass-pained viewer that is going back that long, looking for violations and then reporting it to the trust and safety team, to which they have to answer it. And then that trust and safety team evaluates that and makes a decision on something they previously didn't even know about. Okay? So that's what's actually happening. So remember I told you in this talk, we're going to talk about some things that are never talked about before. That has never been brought up, I'm sure, for positive on Twitch before. Okay? So that's actually something that is really happening. It is viewers going back through decades of freaking content, right? Like hours of content, weeks of content before. They're reporting because they don't like somebody. Sometimes they're mass reporting, and sometimes they're brigading on Reddit. And that causes the trust and safety team to have to react to a legitimate violation, and then that person gets banned. So if you are blaming the trust and safety team for that, it's not them. It's actually the viewers that are doing that, okay? So if something happened 3 weeks ago but it gets reported today, then that is one of the key things that the trust and safety has to keep in mind. Also, because decisions have to go through so many people, right? The decision-making process can take time to evaluate, especially if there's many different sides and they need communication with the streamer. So you have people that are working 9 to 5 at an office, right? Probably 9 to 7 because it's Silicon Valley, and have to make decisions about these issues. And these issues are going to take time. And some of these issues are very complex, okay? And a lot of questions have to come up from this. So within the trust and safety team on Twitch, the highest contribution to lag is actually people reporting violations later and Twitch not getting reports on the violation in real time. So if somebody comes back, if I've said a really bad word, for example, in 3 months ago, and nobody caught it and nobody reported it because I had like 50 viewers back then and like there was nobody and now people go back through my content and they find that and they report it. Then me getting banned will seem really weird, but it's actually totally fine. It's still a violation. It still happened, and the trust and safety team has to address that. Okay, so that said, okay, Devin. So like you're explaining like the response time, and you're explaining like that the issues are complex, and yeah, we get it that there's like this big team. So why are people so ass-pained about what's happening on Twitch, and why is there this public perception that this stuff is happening? The reason is because Twitch's top issue is communication. So when Emmett Shear talked at TwitchCon about what they are going to do about enforcement and bans, the thing that he promised to do was transparency with reports, which means Twitch is going to tell you, the streamer, exactly what the violation was and where it was. And importantly, it is against Twitch policy for Twitch to discuss publicly anything about a ban. This is very important later. But for now, the transparency reports is the number one issue, right? And at the top of the heap of things that Twitch wants to do that are enforcement and ban related, this is number one. So transparency with reports is coming. That's publicly announced, public data. I'm not telling you anything new. They are bringing that to the table, and they are going to have it so that every streamer that is banned is going to know why they were banned and where it was banned. But Here is where we get into something that I think is really, really important. Remember I said this was going to be important later? It is against Twitch policy for Twitch to discuss publicly anything about a ban. So, who controls the narrative? It's the streamer themselves, Reddit, and other third-party people. So, a streamer can tell you any story that they want as to why they were banned. And they can do this basically with impunity from ever being called out on the subject because of Twitch's personal policy for not discussing these issues. Twitch will never make a blog post or a talk or anything about why people got banned specifically, which means that the streamer can say anything they want. So let's take a situation like any of the common things that happen on Reddit. I don't want to call specific people out. I have plenty of people to call out, but I was recently featured, I guess is the word, on Reddit, giving a talk where I mentioned that in my research for this video, having talked to several account managers and people that are a part of the trust and safety team, there were several account managers who told me, and they didn't obviously discuss the nature of these bans, but they told me in several instances they were frustrated because they read on Reddit that somebody was like, oh, I was never talked to by Twitch staff. This was never covered for me. I was banned for no reason. On and on and on, right? And the AMs had done personal phone calls with those people, had done personal email conversations with those people, and the reason that they were saying on Reddit that they were banned was completely different from the reason they were actually banned. And luckily, this got a lot of press, and I think needs to be talked about more. The fact that streamers can control the narrative of the ban, and they can tell you without any evidence what happened, should make you extremely wary of when you read something or you hear something about this and it's unsubstantiated. I would be very careful, and I would encourage everyone to engage with the facts of the situation, right? First, what is the actual policy on banning for this? Because if you disagree with the outcome, which is that Twitch banned the person, your problem is not the policy, it's your enforcement of the policy, right? Or your problem is the policy and not the enforcement of the policy. So another way to, it's kind of confusing, but another way to say it is like, let's say that somebody gets banned for just showing too much boob on Twitch TV, right? Well, if you go into the community guidelines, it says right there, hey, don't do this, okay? Like any kind of sexually suggestive content can be banned on Twitch, and you should be aware of that. Okay, well, if that's directly against the policy, and then the policy is enforced, you may disagree that the person should or shouldn't have get banned with it, but your problem is the policy, not the enforcement, and that's what you should actually attack. The second thing that I want people to realize about the inconsistency and banish argument, right, is accused people, aka criminals, have implicit bias no matter what on the issue. AKA, they are going to skew the perspective in some way. Now, this happens in part because Twitch screws up on communication, which I think is the final issue in this talk, but we'll get to that. When people go to jail, and you go to jail and you interview criminals, and you say, hey, what are you in for, okay? Do you deserve it? The vast majority of criminals will say, dude, it's the justice system. They got me, man. It's BS, dude. I can't believe it. I wasn't doing anything. These cops, they're corrupt, man. The system is messed up, right? No, there's very few people in prison that are going to take ownership of the exact reason of what they did. Now, in the exact same way, every partner and streamer is going to have an implicit bias as to why they were banned and if they deserve to be banned. And the vast majority of them are not going to take ownership. We have seen in the past, there are some streamers that will, and they just very clearly say, oh, yeah, like, dudes, I was banned. I own it. This is a mistake that I made. Yeah, this really sucks. But then there are far more people, my friends, who say, I was banned by Twitch for no reason. They never talked to me. Come on, guys. Why would I lie about this? Why would you lie indeed? How about because you stand to gain a ton of positive earned media from it? How about because you don't want to look like a bad guy to your community? How about because you think it might be your own brand destruction to take ownership and of something you actually did wrong? Broadcasters have every single reason to lie about this because they know they're going to. There are affiliates and streamers right now, right this minute, at the time of me making this. There are people right now on Reddit that are farming thousands of upvotes. Yesterday, no one knew who they were because they're painting some narrative about why Twitch banned them. But can you be sure, without seeing the communication between that person and the account managers, what exactly happened? You can't. You could never know that. Don't, like, any of these still doctored photos. We live in a world of, like, I can share my screen with you. Right now, you're looking at my screen in my office in Seattle, okay? I can show you the email of whatever account manager says to me, and I can scroll through Gmail and I can show you the email, right? There's no rule that prevents you from doing that. Twitch doesn't care if the partner or affiliate actually communicates with the whole world about why they got banned. You can literally send the email that you got from the account manager out. So be very careful when you see these weird doctored DMs that are literally it's like a bleeped MS Paint like brush, like, and it says like it's like some message from a supposed AM, and it's like, you never meant anything to me. I am your father. Join the dark side. Like, be really careful when this stuff happens, okay? If you're not seeing literal emails that are branded Twitch TV on like a video that's clearly not doctored, you need to be really careful because, again, broadcasters have every single reason to lie about this, okay? And for whatever it's worth, okay, take it from me. This is anecdotal because I can't out the people that told me this, and I can't show you any objective data on this, like the other stuff that I'm doing before. But I have talked to many different account managers and people on the trust and safety team, and the number of things that happen that are public and the actual reasons and the truth for those bans are so far past what the public narrative is. And we see this every single day. You need to be extremely careful if you don't have enough information and facts. And it's really hard to say that the partner themselves has the correct understanding of the situation because you have literally been charged with something that affects your livelihood and you have a popular community behind you. So part of this, again, is Twitch, right? Twitch needs to do the work. They need to put in the time to properly communicate with streamers on why they were banned. And if you get banned for no reason, and then you start saying, well, I think it was this, I think it was this, like, you can't know what these guys are thinking unless you ask an AM and you talk to them, okay? So this whole thing is like really important to sort of unravel the like issue of like what's going on here. And I would encourage everyone, like, this is such an important topic. Like, I never say this, okay? I never do this call to action. Please share this talk. It's going up on YouTube. Share this talk with people. Get them to understand this issue. We need to stop this narrative so we can focus on things that are actually important. I'm going to say that again at the end. But like, that is something that I really believe this is important. So, okay, let's keep going. Let's talk about survivorship bias, okay? Because I got even more, right? I literally did hours of research on this, okay? Survivorship bias is, in the media, you might hear something like, there's a murder on every street corner. And you get the idea that, say, Los Angeles, for example, is a very violent place. Because if you know where to look, you can find a person got stabbed or there's something XYZ. There's all kinds of things and all kinds of reasons why you might believe that Los Angeles is like a very dangerous place. And like, it's really funny if you actually go to like Korea or something and talk to like a Korean about Los Angeles, they'll be like, I would never live there. Everyone's getting shot there. But it's like when you really look at it, right? Los Angeles is a city of 20 million people, the vast majority of whom go to work unperturbed every day. In the same way, let's talk about some numbers on Twitch, okay? There are 3 million active monthly broadcasters on Twitch. Out of those numbers, there are 200,000 plus affiliates and about 35,000 plus partners. Okay, so the number of people who are actually who a enforcement decision is placed upon is actually a tiny percentage of this. The number of affiliates is a tiny percentage of that, and the number of partners is a tiny percentage of that. Okay? So there's this perception that everybody's livelihood is in danger. But if you take out bots, if you take out automated people that are posting streams or like the number of bans total on the platform is orders of magnitude smaller. And this is true for any platform, right? So the scale that we're talking about is so small. But every week, every day almost, there's a narrative of action that's taken against a partner. But in the grand scheme of things, you could take action against partners every single day, and it would not even touch the left toe of the modicum of the number of people that are on this website broadcasting completely fine and are never, ever going to run into an issue with trust and safety. So this idea of people that are leaving the platform and going to Mixer and going to Facebook because Twitch is so inconsistent with their bans and because I could get banned and that's my livelihood and I'm in danger. No, this is not true. Anybody that is actually in danger of being banned, anybody that is actually discussing that move seriously is probably someone that is already doing something that deserves to be in the crosshairs. And if you have 2 strikes on your account for sexually suggestive content, for threats of violence, for slurs that are racist, for anything like that, you probably deserve it. And maybe you should be making a consideration to move to a different platform where you can have a clean slate, but don't mistake that for a legitimate reason to leave. The number of people that are actually affected by bans on Twitch is infinitesimal compared to the vast majority of people who stream every day, earn income, and are successful by virtue of the platform, which is free and doesn't require anything of people. You can choose to stream here or not. Twitch is not holding anybody hostage to stream here, except for their exclusivity contract, but we should probably talk about that in another another time. That's outside of the purview of this. Okay, so we should talk about the just sheer number of people that every day are using this website in a completely clean way. And that isn't interesting because it doesn't bleed, so it doesn't lead. So nobody actually wants to talk about that stuff, okay? And through all of this, we should start to paint a picture of how this system actually works and what is really going on at Twitch. So let's talk about what actually needs to happen, what the real problems are, and then what we need to do as a community to see this change, okay? Because there are real problems at Twitch, right? This is not going to just be a shilling for Twitch video the entire time. There are real problems at Twitch, and we can discuss them and everything, right? And I'm not paid by Twitch to do that. I mean, I am paid by Twitch, but I am one of the least biased people to bring you this information because if I lose all my income on Twitch, I don't really care. I have a full-time job in a very position that I love in a lucrative company. And beyond that, I've sold companies before. I'm totally fine. I am not afraid of Twitch. I'm not afraid of being banned. I don't have any stake in the game. I really am totally okay if they just go, hey, we should silence this guy and ban me from the platform. Doesn't matter at all for me, okay? So I'm telling you right now, I am trying to give the most objective feedback on this possible. So let's talk right now about what the real issues are. Okay, in my opinion, the real issues on Twitch are discoverability, the ability to find streamers, and communication. There are other issues, but I think all of them can kind of can fall into these 2 places. So right now, Twitch does a very poor job of communicating with people. They don't communicate well with people that were banned. Part of this is because of scale and needs automated systems, right? They don't communicate with us, the viewer, in terms of blog posts, videos, discussions, open tables, fireside chats, right? The only thing we've really gotten is one tweet in 2018 saying hold us accountable, and then a sort of half-assed thing from Emmett Shear and Ezekiel at TwitchCon, which I don't think anybody was satisfied by. And they don't have public representation through their company, aka an executive, a personality, or a brand or an influencer who speaks on behalf of the company towards these issues. So if you allow a narrative to turn around in a vacuum, then it just generates its own story. And if there isn't two sides to an equation, then the other side of the equation doesn't get done. So if we only ever hear from sources like Reddit and Kotaku and Deserto and whatever about these, and the streamers themselves about these bans, we will never get a full picture. And it is completely on Twitch that they fail to communicate this. Okay? So Twitch not communicating and Twitch failing to do this is an unforgivable problem in their business. It is as a result of scale. It's a result of onboarding a ton of employees very fast. It's a result of onboarding a lot of people that don't have a good understanding culturally of what Twitch was about in 2012 to 2014 and are instead software engineers or people from Amazon who don't understand the culture, don't understand Bleed Purple, and don't get what the site is really about. They don't have a public representation. Emmett Shear is not a public-facing personality, no matter how much he wants to be. He's not Jack Dorsey. He's not Elon, right? He's not your typical Silicon Valley CEO that can go out there like Batman, land in a helicopter with two supermodels, and impress the whole audience. He's not that guy, and Twitch needs to find that person, guy or girl, to represent themselves to the community. They also need to put much more effort into blog posts, into discussions, into chats about what they're doing and how they're doing it. And they also need to complete their mission of transparency through communication platforms like getting banned and understanding where that matters. So, like every single streamer that gets banned on this platform, full stop, should have the time that they were, the decision by the trust and safety team, where in the video that this happened, why it happened, and then they should have a direct recourse to be able to communicate with someone through an appeals process. There's currently an appeals process that exists, but it should go through an appeals process that then goes to an account manager at Twitch that can evaluate the decision. Okay? That is 100% what Twitch needs to fix. We can talk about their issue of discoverability, but that's outside of the scope of this particular talk, which is about Twitch enforcement. Communication, I think, is one of the number one issues with Twitch, and I think if Twitch did a little bit more to communicate and take ownership of these issues, there would at least be their side of the story in this. And Twitch may also have internal reasons for not doing this kind of communication. I don't know. They may fear public backlash. Emmett may just not be focused on that. My suspicion is that Emmett, as a CEO, is not really a person that understands HR and the importance of, or I should say PR, really, public relations. And I think he is an engineer at heart. He knows how to build systems. He built one of the best content delivery networks in the world to get to make streaming as consistent as it is today. And I'd say he's probably a very bad manager of public relations and doesn't understand the importance of that and has neglected that in his company. And that he is probably to be held accountable, as I hold all CEOs accountable for this issue. And that he would probably agree. I mean, I think that like if I really sat him down and he had that conversation with me, which I'm always up for doing if he's willing to do it, I would come at him on this issue. And the way that you solve that as an executive is you delegate. You hire a CRO, Chief Relationship Officer, or some people call them a Chief Heart Officer, and you have a person whose responsibility is to own that and do it better than you can do. As far as I know, Twitch hasn't actually done this, and I think this is a pretty big hole in their executive team. That PR and public relations should be a major part of their brand, especially now that streamers are taking cash deals to move to other platforms and to cover their tracks on these issues, and especially that a growing percentage of the community is starting to feel, I'd say, ostracized from like the communication at Twitch. So I think that's a big part of it. Okay, what can we do as a community? This is absolutely shaping up to be one of my most important and best talks. All right, so first, we need to really understand news and fake news. And I think everybody should as much as they can, try to look at situations with all of the facts on the table considered before making a flash judgment. And just because it's popular or it's like topical to go into like the whole narrative of like, yeah, this guy was like unfairly banned, like Twitch sucks, whatever. If you really genuinely want to see change, then tell Twitch how they need to do it and start talking to them about communication. Because the number one thing that we can fix with Twitch is our ability to communicate with them via Twitter, via email, via long form content. If we don't have these if we don't encourage Twitch to have these discussions with us, if they're too afraid and they're hiding behind their ivory tower, or in this case, their purple tower in Silicon Valley, and they won't talk to us, we can't get anything done. If you, as a community, are actually serious about this and you want to fix these issues, and I'm also calling out all the people that have these discussions over and over again on your streams and are milking LSF and milking Reddit. All of you people, if you really want to solve these issues, okay, then demand of your AMs and encourage of your AMs that Twitch start opening up public communication. If you just want to ride LSF and you want to ride Reddit and you don't have enough content to cover real news and you want to keep talking about these issues over and over again, which I know most of you do, then more power to you, whatever. But at least then admit that you're not trying to engage in the debate in good faith. Because otherwise nothing's going to change. We're going to do the same thing every week, and there's just nothing's going to go anywhere. And eventually, hopefully, some of you will tire. You, the viewership, will tire of this drama and this continuous cycle. They tired of it on YouTube to some extent, and then it became like sort of a small subsection. So maybe this is kind of just like the meta that Twitch is within. Encourage good conversation. Encourage people to talk about these issues at Twitch and hold, like when Twitch said hold them accountable, really do that. Message their executive team, message your AMs, streamers, talk to them about getting a public forum for these issues that Twitch really has. And let's focus on the real issues on Twitch instead of these BS issues of like individual streamers should or should not have gotten banned for this outrage culture that happens every day of like, should this streamer have been banned? Should this streamer not have been banned? This streamer was not banned, but this streamer was. I've done enough legwork in this talk to explain to you why that stuff happens. And the vast majority of the time, it's either not actually the full facts of the situation, and it is and oftentimes it is just downright not happening the way that you think or you see. And one of the most dangerous things that I think we are dealing with in the live media space right now today is misrepresentation through 10 to 15 second sound bites or clips of somebody's story when none of that is actually substantiated. If somebody would just do the work to even look 30 seconds ahead, where somebody was like, I mean, that has happened to me several times where I've said something, it's been misrepresented in a 15-second soundbite, and then 30 seconds later, if you just bothered to watch the clip, then it would have been some completely different context. But because people will only watch the first 15 seconds, they take some kind of narrative away from that was a totally false thing and is literally fake news. So we as a community, we need to engage with facts of situations. This is so important that we do this, right? Like, we need to engage with the actual stuff that's happening. And we need to encourage broadcasters to hold themselves accountable. If you were really banned, show all of your emails, show all of your logs, show all of your communication with AMs, and come out. And then if we really do have a situation where someone was like, quote, banned for no reason, and that ends up happening, right? And then like the AMs don't address it, then we as a community can approach Twitch about that issue. But I promise you, every single time that you read that or you hear that, far more often there is way more to the case, right? So the streamers themselves and the community themselves have to aspire to a higher degree of truth. Because the more context you remove, the more people will misinterpret it. And ultimately, what we're looking for is a healthier platform where more people can broadcast, create full-time income, and thrive. Because what Twitch actually has done is awesome right? So much of I say that I'm not married to the idea of being a streamer, and that's true. But at the same time, so much of my life now, and me sitting in Seattle, and my life at League of Legends, and as a CEO, and everything that I've ever done was enabled by Twitch and enabled by this community finding me, and so many messages and crowdsourced opportunities. And now, like, my ability to employ people and give them money to do things and to empower people has all been enabled through this platform. We are on the cusp right now of a revolution of technology, a way to communicate with each other that we've never had before. And in the history of the human race, we have never quite had something like YouTube or Twitch or anything even close to it. And to understand this is a communication platform and the good we can do with it, I would encourage everybody to sort of like step away a little bit from the meme culture and the drama train and aspire to be a little bit better, aspire to be a little bit stronger, and do a little bit more good through the platform that you have, streamers, and through the and viewers. But you can aspire to be better by looking for the truth in situations, and by espousing the truth in situations and talking about it. The more that you do that, the more you elevate us all, and you are responsible for controlling this narrative and controlling this story, because Twitch will never control it. Twitch, as a company, they won't change their policy. Emmett Shear has already said that. As long as Emmett is CEO, and as long as Amazon is running this thing, they are not going to change their policy on public bans and public enforcement and what goes on. So you, the viewer, control the narrative. You're very powerful in this equation. And you have a choice to make that narrative another BS thing with a clickbait title, or you can make it something that actually aspires to truth and a greater good. And that, in turn, elevates us all on this platform and on the internet as a whole. And if there's one thing I can do, it's encourage everybody to try to do that to the best of their ability every day. Yes, it takes more work. Yes, it's not as popular. But in the long run, you will build an empire based on good, and that will win out. There are a million different things that I could do to get more content, to get more viewers, to get more things, to talk about more things. I promise you that building an empire on the basis of good, not only will it add to the world in the end, but you will also look back on that in 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, and you'll be like, thank God that I freaking did that, okay? This concept, this talk today, please share it with other people. Please talk about this with other people. I will have this into a video. It'll come out, and we will put it on our YouTube, and we'll name it something cool, okay? And it will be, hopefully, I don't know if I've done a good job, but I hope this is the sort of final authority on what is actually happening on Twitch with the trust and safety team, how it actually works, how where stuff goes wrong and what goes right, and what we should do about this going forward. And thank you, everybody that got with me this far, that wanted to watch this, understand it, ask questions about it, engage with it. And also thank you to the anonymous souls who will forever remain nameless, who helped support me in researching this so that I could get the right information and bring it to everybody. Thank you for doing that. Without you, I would not be able to do this, because I would just not have enough context into the internal workings of Twitch to figure out how this actually happened. Okay. So this is my best effort. I don't normally go Super Saiyan, but I did. This is everything that I've got. I've did a ton of research on this. I really think this is an important issue, and I hope that this does the job of helping people realize that Twitch as a platform overall is a healthy platform that has growing pains.